Do you want to know what makes Chicago great at 8? It's Taped with Rabbi Doug. For more than 30 years, Taped with Rabbi Doug has offered the city one-of-a-kind conversations and entertainment. I'm Rabbi Doug, the TV rabbi, and you can tune into my show every Monday night at 8:30 on Channel 19, CAN TV, where I will present to you the most amazing guests, entertainers, politicians, and local folk to rock your world. That's Taped with Rabbi Doug, Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 19.
I'm Phil Andrew. I'm a candidate for Congress here in the 9th Congressional District of Illinois. Stay tuned for Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug. Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about
So, welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. My guest today is Phil Andrew. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Glad to be with you, Rabbi.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. Phil grew up on the North Side. He's a nationally recognized leader in gun violence prevention, crisis management, and conflict resolution. He's a former FBI agent, hostage negotiator, and counterterrorism expert. Andrew's professional path was profoundly shaped by a traumatic personal experience in 1988. At age 20, he and his parents were held hostage in their family's Winnetka home following the Lori Dan shooting at Hubbard Woods School. Often referred to as one of the nation's first school shootings, claimed the life of an 8-year-old boy, wounded 5 classmates, and deeply traumatized the community. This experience propelled Andrew to a lifelong commitment to violence prevention and service to the community. At the FBI, he contributed to high-stakes matters in pursuit of accountability, justice, and safety. This includes investigating and prosecuting public corruption cases, working with global allied partners on the prevention of terror attacks, and serving as the lead negotiator on perilous hostage events, including the 2008 Mumbai attacks. At this critical moment for our country, Andrew stands uniquely prepared to exert congressional oversight to hold the administration accountable. Your campaign has given me a lot of information about you that I'm sharing with everyone, but one thing I want to tell everyone, he and his wife, Michelle, are the parents of 4 children, 3 of whom have chosen service in the U.S. Navy, and what a wonderful thing. And I'm so happy to have you on the show today and talk to you about running for Congress to replace Jan Schakowsky in the 9th District in Illinois, who is retiring at this time. Now, she's been in Congress for a long time. I had her on my show before she was in Congress. That's how long I've known her. And I've been with her in Washington numerous times, taping with her in Washington and in her office with groups of people. Been there with APAC and other groups. And I know this congressional district and this congressional seat. And I know what it's capable of doing and what I've felt has sort of lacked off in the recent years, which may have been not so lacked off back in the day. What do you think now running for Congress is lacking in the last years that you can make a difference and correct?
Yes. Well, first, wonderful to be with you.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I've known Jan almost as long. I worked with her when she was in the state legislature on gun violence prevention policy. And she actually nominated our 3 children to the Naval Academy.
Wow, how nice.
Yes, and she calls them individually. So each one of my children got a personal phone call with Jan when they received her nomination.
Very
and appointment.
nice.
But as powerful and long as her service has been, I think that this district has changed a lot over her 26 years of service. And you can see it's a big district and it's far-reaching. And I think if I've learned anything, both working, living, growing up in this district, and now running in it, is that there are so many communities that are feeling insecure, are feeling unsafe, and they really need to be listened to. And And that I think is a big difference, is being able to reach all of these communities, hear what their concerns are, and then pull them in to the thing that we know everybody cares about. We all want to feel safe and secure at this moment when there's so much anxiety and polarization in the world and our country.
I've interviewed other candidates who are running for this position, and one of the things that I asked them, and they mentioned to me, is that they also want to hear what the people have to say and what can be done for them. What do you think is the biggest issue that has been brought to your attention that says, this is why we need you, this is what we need you to do for us living in the 9th District and maybe in the state of Illinois and maybe in this country?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think right now we are feeling like there is such disconnectedness, that we are such a polarized country. So many people are talking about that. They recognize that how we are divided is actually making us weak, feeling insecure, and ineffective. And I think that this administration is a symptom of that. The way that it's operating with executive orders, with a number of its behaviors that make communities feel like they're listened to, and they're and increasing their vulnerability. So I think that's it. That's what I'm hearing, and I have a unique set of skills. One, I'm a hostage negotiator. I actually use listening as one of the main skill sets. We are trained listeners. We used to say that this is a learnable, trainable, and perishable skill, and that's not something that you grow up with in politics. This is something that a skill that you develop when stakes are high, when lives are on the line, and you cannot fail. You actually have to build the teams and the strategies that are most effective, and that's unique. I'm the only one that's done that.
That's awesome. Tell me, what do you think about the cost of living things that are going on right now? Groceries shooting up. Gasoline's a little low right now because of the Venezuela situation and things like that, as has been mentioned before with candidates. But certainly, as that dies down, prices seem to rise again. But certainly, grocery prices, food prices, the price of travel. Even people who have to travel, you want to go to your friend's wedding, and all of a sudden, the airline cost today can be double or triple sometimes of what it was 5 to 10 years ago. What do you think about the cost of living, and how can that be attacked by a congressman?
Yes, well, I hear a lot about affordability issues, whether it be groceries, rent, families not able to buy into home ownership.
Sure.
And
interest
again,
rates. Crazy.
Yes, all of these things are combining, and I think one, it is a symptom of a lack of a coherent federal policy around building our economy. Two, we've really disrupted immigration. We haven't solved that problem. We talked about it, we've bantered about it. Now we have an administration kind of using it as a political tool. But the reality is we need a lot more people to come to the United States, and particularly to the Chicago area. That helps us level out our tax base. The more people living here, the broader we can spend that. But to what we've done to disrupt supply chains with these tariffs, and not working to build the kind of alliances where we can allow small businesses like I have, been running for 8 years, but many of those that are trying to plan for the next few months. And finally, healthcare. I hear so much about that, the Congress's inability to find common ground around healthcare, and this administration allowing the ACA subsidies to jack up.
I can't even tell you, people have come to me in the last weeks and said, do you know my healthcare insurance has tripled with the marketplace?
Yes.
Tripled. And I'm like, it's crazy. That's
Yes.
crazy. Now, before the marketplace, people used to pay 10 times more. So you can't complain about there being a marketplace, but you can say, for the last 3-4 years, I've been on the marketplace and I've been paying such and such because of the subsidies, and all of a sudden that's tripled. That's a big jump.
What happens, I think, when we create anxiety and division, it creates a lack of predictability. And that's so much what small businesses, families like ours, you're planning a budget and understanding how you can bring an income in and apportion it in a way that you still have something left over. That's been really damaging by some of this administration's behavior, but also by Congress not solving these problems.
I'm not going to ask you to say an answer to this question publicly right now, but is the Senate race that's going on at the same time as the congressional race in our district in Illinois, is it going to make a difference which person is there that if you become congressman, you're going to be able to work with and have a relationship with? Or do you think it's separate? That's kind of what I'm asking.
I actually think all of these things are connected. And we have an opportunity, as difficult as things seem now, as big a challenges as this administration is creating, as dysfunctional as Congress has been and divided as our country is, we have an opportunity to elect the largest class of new Congress people, and we have these active Senate races. So this is really a critical election, maybe one of the most important midterm elections of our lifetime. So I think it actually, and one of the reasons I'm running is because it's critically important who we send now. The next 2 years are going to be critical in how we navigate this, how, one, we hold this administration accountable, but two, how we get a few things done. We need to have a coherent plan for immigration. We need to make sure healthcare is affordable. We need to end gun violence and make sure that our populations feel safe. But we're not going to do that without the right people, because the money, the way these districts are designed, and who we've been sending to Congress have made us divided and ineffective.
How does a Phil Andrew who gets into Congress work for the next 2.5 to 3 years with a President Trump's administration and the president himself, because that connection will be there? How do you get in and build a relationship which is necessary for some cohesiveness?
Yes, well, two things. One, I think you have to go in with the idea that you have to bring the highest level of ethics and accountability for yourself and for our party. I think people are sick of the games. And we've seen that in Illinois.
We sure have.
So many of these Illinois politicians, and we're still in the shadow of Burke and Madigan, these politicians that really had a stranglehold on our democratic process. We've finally indicted, those folks have been held accountable, but there's so much petty corruption that we have become just tolerant of. So I think the first thing we need to do is bring our values, bring our ethics, and reform Congress. Get the money out, change our map, require Congress to not insider trade, and then extend that to the federal government. Our Supreme Court, our justices, they shouldn't be profiting from their position. We should have complete transparency, and so should this administration. And I think that's one of the critical steps here, because this administration, one of its first acts was to remove the inspector generals from every agency. And what we know is that that's a best practice for early indicator of fraud, abuse, and waste. And why would we get rid of those? The serious thing about this moment is that this administration is doing so much disruptive stuff. Meanwhile, there's a lot of corruption and lack of efficiency within our agencies. And I think that Congress, one, needs to be very transparent and ethical itself and affect those reforms and extend those to the rest of the federal government. But we also have to require it of our candidates and our party.
Absolutely. Let me go international for a minute, if I may. Right now, the big buildup in the Middle East, in the Gulf, with the Iran situation. How do you, coming into Congress, where do you go with that as a negotiator and as a former federal officer? I mean, these things are close to your heart. How do you go in? Are negotiations even really possible, even though they're sort of on the tinge of happening or not happening? Are they really possible at all? Is the military an answer? Could it be an answer? Is it a deterrent that has to stay there? How do you look at that?
Yes. Well, the international policy, the use of force, how we negotiate some of these conflict zones. I'm informed by two things. One, as you know, I'm a survivor of violence myself.
I do.
And I know that violence often begets more violence unless there's something that intercedes. Second, I've been in the national security realm, as you point out, for 21 years. I've served providing information, developing programs to keep weapons of mass destruction from getting in the wrong hands, of making sure the Iranian nuclear program doesn't get off the ground, but also working with many of our allies, Israel included, to make sure that, one, they're safe, but that we're also keeping the United States safe, because those partnerships are critical in terms of our own safety, because many of those threats then emanate and support terrorism in the United States. So that's the framework where I work. And as you also point out, I'm a negotiator. So I deeply believe in engagement, but engagement from, one, a position of value and integrity, where we are saying we believe in peace, that we want to see all people safe because we know that contributes to their security. And secondly, we want to see people thrive, where people are hurting, where there is a humanitarian need. We want to be leaders in that space, because there's nothing more powerful than if your child is sick or hungry, that food, medicine, and support comes from the United States or our allies. That's how you win hearts and minds, when people are hurting and you arrive compassionately and supportively. But the reality is that there are deep risks. And one of the things I've always found very helpful is separating people, like the Iranian people, the Israeli people, Palestinians, Gazans, and many people in the world from their leadership, because often leaders aren't making decisions that are aligning with the peace. And I've met people from so many parts of the world that have been in crisis, that have had needs. And I believe that most people are seeking safety and peace themselves. Mm-hmm. But that's when we politicize these issues, that's where it becomes so dangerous. And people's interests are not aligned with the political goals of some leaders. So one, I think we need to be clear-eyed in our values and hold people accountable, but also recognizing that there are some threats that we need to be strong and have the right alliances to isolate those threats. Because sometimes you can't always eliminate those threats, but if you can isolate them, you can keep people safe and allow them the dignity and the liberty to move forward with their own lives.
Awesome. You brought up Israel, and I want to go there. Other candidates I talked to, some wanted to go there, some didn't want to go there. I don't ever want to have anybody talk about something they don't want to talk about, because the people know when they don't want to talk about it.
Well, Doug, and I'm glad that you want to talk about it, because in this race and other races around the country, but particularly this race, Israel's security and even the safety of communities right here in the Ninth that have been threatened by increased hate crime and anti-Semitism. There are some candidates like Laura Fine and Dan Biss that are using this as a political football. They're literally using it as a way of fundraising and leveraging one community against another. And I think that that's what's wrong with politics today, because we need to lead with values, and we need to recognize that everybody wants safety and they want dignity, and they want to know that you're listening to them. And that's why I'm so proud of our campaign, and I'm proud of the way that we're conducting ourselves, is making sure that we're listening to the Orthodox community. We're listening to the Jewish community that feels that threat, because it is increased. Hate crimes are up everywhere.
A lot.
We've seen what's happening on the international stage with increase of terrorism, but other people are feeling that threat too. Our children are growing up in schools where they're constantly thinking about gun violence. We have people who can't ride the red line at night because they fear
scared.
of that. We literally had, unfortunately, a young woman in the Chicago area who was set on fire.
Terrible.
So these are things that are constantly on people's minds. I think we need to talk about them, but I don't think that we should leverage it as a political football for fundraising.
I understand. They're terrible situations. There's a lot of anti-Semitism. Now that the Gaza war is pretty much over, obviously there's still the security issues that go along with that being over, and the safety yellow line, as they call it. There's still those protests against Israel. There's still those pro-Palestinian, which really seem to be pro-Hamas demonstrations that are going on with words of from the river to the sea, and meaning that Israel shouldn't exist. It needs to be destroyed or eliminated. How do you come in to a position like this and say, this is not what we represent. This is not what we can allow. This is not these anti-Semitic, anti-Israel hate gatherings. What's the answer?
Here's what my answer has
Yeah,
been
I want to know yours.
through my life of service since 1988, when I survived an attack, through right to this moment. I believe that we have to fight extremism in every form, because extremism leads to that hatred, that othering, the dehumanizing language that we see extremists use, that then justifies the violence behind it. I'm very proud that my team and my firm PAX Group actually designed the hate crimes curriculum for the Holocaust Museum of Illinois, working directly with the community to recognize the threats that they face, but also thinking about how we train, teach, and create awareness within law enforcement, within communities, electeds, and teachers and students, so that we can elevate the conversation and make people safer. And I know that these are scary conversations, but we help communities have these conversations so that we can see more reporting, because it's a difference. If you're threatened or beat up on the street because somebody wanted your wallet, that's vastly different than if somebody's threatening and beating you up on the street because you're Jewish. That is a crime against a community, and it's meant to cause fear, terror, and division. And we have to recognize when a crime is motivated that way and respond to it in different ways than just the general criminal activity. But secondly, I'm very proud of my service in the human rights work that the Kent School of Law does, and recognizing that we have to recognize when there is crimes against humanity, atrocities like the Holocaust. We have to learn from those, and we have to apply them to today, like what is happening in the Ukraine with what the Russians are doing, and specifically targeting humans or civilians. That we have international order that we need to apply there. And I think that anytime we use that dehumanizing language that can lead to hate and violence, we need to stand up and talk it down. But the best way of doing that is showing that we're all united.
So let me go backwards now and say, what brought Phil Andrew to Congress? What brought you to this position? You've done so many things in your career. You've meant a lot to a lot of people, and you've given great service to the people. How is this the next step in your service, and what made you make this decision?
Yes, well, really two things. One, I'm in a good, healthy place. As you know, our three children are out of the house. They're in naval service, and we're very proud of them. But we also want to make sure that they have an opportunity to serve honorably. And I'm worried about this administration not being value guided. Secondly, what this administration is doing using threat, intimidation, and sometimes even violence in ways that are divisive, but also attacking our democratic institutions, some of its independence. And I think that this is a critical moment. So I'm in crisis management. We do this for 10 years, or for 8 years, I have been working in this space, continuing the work that I did in the FBI. And I cannot think of a more important moment to use the unique skills and experience I have to help heal our nation, start getting the important things that this district and this nation need done, but also keep people safe. Wow. That the most important, and I know that people thrive when they feel safe. And our communities, all of these diverse communities, they deserve to feel that safety and thrive. And I know that then they turn and open small businesses, and their children go off to college and come back and start having their own families. This is what has made this district. This is what makes this country great. And I feel like it's at risk. That's what's drawing me into this. And I'll say something else, that I bring a really high level of independence to this. I'm not taking any big corporate money. Nobody is funding my campaign except for friends and family. And that's what we need. We need to send people to Congress who have the values and the independence to bring those fixes and hold this administration accountable in ways that allow us to grow. And I think this is a unique time to do that.
Great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Phil Andrew is a candidate for Congress in the 9th District in Illinois for the United States of America, and a Democrat. And I wish you much success. And I want to thank all of you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. If you want to send an email to Phil, you can send it to me, info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward it to him. I know he'll get back to you personally, sure, or his campaign will right away. And go out and vote. Go out and vote.
You got it.
Go out and vote. Early voting starts very soon, so yes, watch for that too. And hope to see you all next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need. You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.